It's opening 2025 turkey season here in Wisconsin, and I've been studying a few different gobblers. Well, I'm about to head out to the first location where I'm hoping we get close enough to the setup. So I ended up setting up right on the edge of the field here, right where the woods meets this opening, and typically the gobblers roost behind me. Well, let's just say this. We were so close to the gobblers, it was almost too close. I had gobblers calling within 80 yards away from me in the roost. So close that I honestly couldn't get any closer. All they had to do is fly down into the field. That's all they had to do. So I waited. And waited. Finally it became light, and the gobbler went the wrong direction. Instead of flying out into the field, he decided to turn around and fly right back into the thicket. Then it got light out, and all of a sudden, I actually saw something pretty unique. A red fox came trotting out across the field, and I watched him go all the way into the woods. Though it wasn't a turkey, it was still a pretty cool sight. Just a female fox out here looking for some food, that way she can feed her young pups. Pretty cool to see how nature works. Shortly after that, I decided to drive around and do a little bit of scouting. Well, I saw a couple of turkeys out in the field, and one of them happened to be a real nice gobbler. Now, there's a brush row right out there on the edge of this pick hayfield. The only thing is, there's no cover to be able to get there. So somehow, I'm going to have to figure out a way to sneak all the way down the edge of the brush row without getting busted by any of the turkeys in the field. There's one gobbler and 3 hens. So not only is there just one eye, but there's actually 4 eyes on me at the same time. Not specifically 4 eyes. Technically it'd be 8 eyes, but you know what I mean. So I have to get all the way down this brush row to be 100% undetected. Here's the thing. The bottom of the brush row is completely covered in burning metal. So I'm going to have to come from the bottom of the brush row out to the side of the brush row and kind of switch back and forth depending on how open it is or how thick it is on the inside.
Alright, so the last place we saw him is right behind that big tree right there. Now, we can't go out in the open, so I'm gonna have to go down the edge of this brush row, and I'm gonna belly crawl along the edge of that tight pine tree there. And once I get there, that should be about where they're at.
Alright, now the good thing about this is the fact that it's super windy. The gobblers aren't going to be able to hear us sneaking up on them. So we're going to have to use that for our advantage. But this turkey is not too far away. So let's get ready. So at this point what I'm doing is making sure that the brush is covering up me and kind of staying between me and the turkey. Now the turkey's on the other side of that ridge there. So basically the field has kind of a drainage part in it. And when you get down to the bottom there, you can't quite see over the top of it. Well, he's on the other side of that drainage. So essentially what I'm doing is making sure that I can see him, but he can't see me, or kind of vice versa, as to the fact like I want to be able to know where he is, but I don't really want to be able to see him. It's better that than me seeing him and then he sees me at the same time. Okay, so guess what? I actually just spotted the gobbler. He's right out there on the edge of the field, so right now I'm trying to tuck inside so he can't see us. But also, at the same time, we gotta make sure we keep moving, because if we wait too long, then he could potentially bust us, and we won't get there in time for a shot. Now you gotta remember that the bottom of this crate is loaded with burning metal and all kinds of stuff that you really don't want to go through. So that's kind of why I'm hugging tight to the edge of the field and not necessarily going all the way into the bottom of the brush. But what I'm doing is every so often I'm popping out into the field and making sure that I can see him. So at this point, I'm getting close, real close. And the reason I know that is because I marked a tree that gobbler was last seen at. And I'm actually within 50 yards of that tree. So that means that at any minute, that gobbler could show himself. Not only that, he could either fly towards us, he could run away from us, he could jump up. You don't know what's gonna happen. Or he could even be bedded, tucked in the brush, trying to hide to where we don't know where he is. And we might potentially walk right past him. At least, that's what he thinks. There he is! Oh my god, got him! There he goes! There he goes! Alright, so he just took off running through here. Had to take him on the run. And I held a pretty good lead on him, but I don't know how good I hit him. Anyways, we gotta cross this creek now to get over there. And it's not gonna be easy, but I'll bring you back as soon as we find him, hopefully. Alright, so at this point, I honestly was a little bit hesitant on whether or not I got the gobbler. I know I held a good lead on him, but he was running through some really thick brush, and I basically shot through about 3 trees to try and maybe get that gobbler. Well, what happened was, we found him.
Something. It still hurt you.
Okay, let's record him.
Got him now? Let him go. Is that the big one? Well, that's the only one out there.
He's a pretty good one, that's for sure.
Well, I realized that in my hand was the gobbler I've been looking for. And I actually tried to get this thing 2 different times, but unfortunately was unsuccessful, both of them. Not today.
You don't want to quite tip over, did he?
That's a long beard.
Look at that. Straight through the trees.
Not today. So I'm going to actually explain to you what actually happened, because I know you probably couldn't see from the video, but technically what happened is 3 turkeys took off, and I saw the last one had a big red head. So as soon as I pulled up, there was one tiny opening that I figured just maybe if I let it right and squeeze the trigger, we might be able to connect on that gobbler. And that's exactly what happened. Except I couldn't quite swing on him fast enough. I didn't get quite a good enough lead. So I hit him more in the body versus the head. Still did knock him over. It was about a 30-yard shot. And with the turkey choke in my 12-gauge Benelli 3-inch turkey loads, it was no match for that gobbler.